Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something pretty fundamental, almost embarrassing, really. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deep oceans right here on Earth.
It's a stark contrast, isn't it? 70% of our planet covered in water.
And yet
the vast majority, maybe 95% according to the stats we've seen, is basically unexplored territory.
it's this huge scientific blind spot. We've got rovers on another planet, but our own deep biosphere, largely a mystery.
Okay, let's unpack this, because there's a UK company, Deep, that's trying to, fundamentally change that. Our deep dive today is all about Vanguard. It's a pilot subsea human habitat. The goal seems to be making us temporarily aquatic, maybe?
Yeah, temporarily aquatic is a good way to put it. Vanguard isn't just another research sub, though. It's really about a shift in thinking. How do we stay down there?
Right, not just pop down for a few hours. Exactly. Historically, deep-sea missions were short sprints. You go down, grab what you can, you're back up. Very limited. Vanguard's whole purpose is extended, continuous access, think long-term research, conservation work, even specialized training.
So it turns that sprint into a marathon, as you said.
Precisely. It
Oh.
tackles that core problem, time limitation.
Before Vanguard, scientists might get, a few hours on the bottom?
If they were lucky, and depending on the depth and method, maybe a few hours of actual observation. But then you have the whole resurfacing process, decompression. It's incredibly resource intensive, and it breaks up the observation period.
So you only get snapshots.
Snapshots, exactly. You miss so much. Think about processes that happen slowly, or behaviors that only occur at dawn or dusk, or during specific tides.
Like trying to understand a city by just flying over it briefly once a day?
Perfect analogy. You miss the rhythm, the context. Vanguard is designed so scientists can live and work underwater for days at a time, without needing that immediate long decompression after every single dive out of the habitat.
Okay, so how does that work? Saturation diving, you mentioned.
Yes, saturation diving. Basically, your body tissues become saturated with the inert gases from the special breathing mix you use under pressure.
Yeah.
Once you're saturated, the time needed for decompression doesn't really increase much, whether you stay down for a day or a week. So you only do one long decompression at the very end of the mission.
Ah, I see. So you can make multiple excursions out of the habitat during your stay?
Exactly. You can conduct your research dives, return to the habitat, which is kept at the same ambient pressure as the surrounding water, eat, sleep, analyze samples, all without decompressing until the mission's truly over.
That completely changes the game for observation. You're not just an intruder anymore.
Right. You become, in a way, part of the environment you're studying. Less disruption, more continuous, real-time data. You see the slow ecological shifts, the full cycle of behaviors.
It allows for entirely new types of science, things that were just impossible before with those short visits. But hang on, this sounds incredibly complex and expensive. I mean, we had things like Sea Lab back in the day, right? Weren't there huge challenges with cost and safety that kind of stalled those efforts?
Absolutely. That's a really critical point. Those early habitats proved humans could live underwater. But the cost was astronomical. The logistics were a nightmare. And frankly, the technology, especially life support, was still developing. There were tragic accidents.
So what's different now? What makes Deep think Vanguard can succeed where others, faltered?
Two key things, I think. Modularity and modern materials combined with rigorous certification.
Modularity.
Yeah, Vanguard isn't one giant bespoke structure built on-site like some older designs. It's built in sections modules off-site. This allows for better quality control, easier transportation, potentially faster assembly where it needs to be. Think standardization and repeatability.
So less like building a custom underwater mansion, more like assembling high-tech Lego.
Sort of. High-tech, incredibly strong, pressure-resistant Lego, yes. But the principle is about making it scalable and repeatable. This approach aims to bring down the long-term cost per mission. Instead of a massive one-off government project, the goal is a platform that can be deployed more routinely, maybe even commercially viable for research institutions or conservation groups.
Okay, that makes sense. Shifting the economics, Let's ground this in the actual hardware they unveiled. Miami, October 29th. What are we talking about size-wise? Capacity? Is this a deep-sea Leviathan or more like a sophisticated underwater trailer?
Uh-huh. Well, the current pilot version isn't designed for the Mariana Trench just yet. It's the first step.
Right.
It supports up to 4 crew members, and they can stay submerged for up to about a week.
4 people for a week. That's still a significant amount of time underwater.
It absolutely is, and it's crucial to understand it's not a submarine. It's a fixed habitat.
Meaning it stays put.
Stays put. And crucially, it maintains an internal atmosphere that's pressurized, higher than sea level, but matched to the ambient water pressure for diving operations using that saturation principle.
Okay, and this modularity you mentioned,
Okay.
how does that break down? 3 sections, right?
Yes, 3 main parts, each with a specific job. You've got the living chamber, the diving center, and the base.
Let's start with the living chamber, the habitat core, they call it. That's where the crew actually bunks down.
Exactly. That's the main pressurized section. It's about 5 feet long, 12 feet wide.
Okay, so roughly the size of a decent RV or a small mobile home. Manageable.
Yeah, enough space for 4 people to eat, sleep, work on research, run experiments. Basically, live for a week without feeling completely cramped, hopefully. The big engineering feat here is maintaining that safe, breathable, pressurized atmosphere inside while resisting the immense water pressure outside, and managing the special gas mix needed for sat diving.
Okay, so that's the living space. Protected, pressurized. What about getting in and out and staying put, the other 2 parts?
All right. Next is the diving center. Think of it like the combination airlock and porch.
The porch?
Well, it's the bit that connects the living chamber to the outside water.
Yeah.
It's where divers transition. They can enter the diving center, seal it, and then the pressure is adjusted to match the living chamber before they go inside, or vice versa when they head out for a dive.
Got it. The interface between inside and outside pressure.
Precisely. And this diving center structure connects down to the third part, the base.
Which is anchored to the seabed.
Anchored firmly. This base is heavy, it's solid, its job is stability. Even at the current depth, you've got currents, potentially wave action from the surface translating down.
Right, you're not immune to surface weather entirely.
Not at all. Especially storm surge effects.
Yeah.
That base needs to keep the whole habitat stable and secure against those forces. It's a huge anchoring challenge, almost as complex as dealing with the direct water pressure itself.
Okay, so living chamber for living, diving center for transitions, base for stability. But it can't function alone, right? It needs life support from the surface.
Absolutely critical. It's a fully functional subsea habitat because it has a lifeline. Without that, it's just a sealed container.
What does that lifeline provide?
Everything essential. There's a dedicated floating platform on the surface right above the habitat. This platform pumps down compressed air, actually. Specialized breathing gas mixtures like Heliox or Trimix, precisely blended and monitored.
Because normal air under pressure causes problems.
Big problems. Nitrogen narcosis, oxygen toxicity. You need carefully controlled mixes, especially for saturation. So, gas supply is number 1. Then you need power. Lots of it. For life support systems, lights, computers, research gear. That comes down the umbilical, too.
And communication, I assume.
And comms, yeah. Voice, data, video feeds back to the surface command center. It's a complex umbilical cord connecting the habitat to its surface support system. That surface platform is the heart and lungs.
Okay, let's talk depth. The pilot, Vanguard, operates at about 65 feet, 20 meters. That sounds, well, not super deep compared to, say, oil rigs or deep-sea subs. Why start there?
It's a very strategic depth. It might sound shallow, but it's significant for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First, accessibility. 65 feet is well within the range of standard scuba diving for support divers. It makes initial deployment, setup, and any potential interventions much easier. Lots of important coastal ecosystems, reefs, kelp forests are at or around this depth too.
So immediate research applications are right there.
Exactly. And second, it's the perfect depth to prove the concept. You're dealing with about 3 times normal atmospheric pressure.
3 atmospheres. Enough to be serious.
Oh yeah, serious enough that the engineering has to be spot on. The procedures, the life support, the saturation, diving protocols, they all need to work flawlessly. But it's also a depth where, if something did go wrong, rescue and recovery are significantly less complex than if they started at, say, 600 feet.
So test the system, work out the kinks, prove the safety and logistics in a challenging but manageable environment before you take that massive leap deeper.
That's precisely the idea. Validate the core systems, the human factors, everything. Build confidence in operational experience.
Okay, now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. You mentioned earlier habitats, like Sea Lab. Vanguard is the first new one of its kind in decades. Why the gap? Why did we stop trying to live underwater for so long, and why come back to it now?
That history is fascinating. After those initial, often government-funded efforts in the 60s and 70s proved it was possible, several factors kicked in. Cost was huge, complexity was another, and sadly, safety incidents rightly raised concerns.
Right.
At the same time, robotic technology ROVs, AUVs, got much better and much cheaper.
Remotely operated vehicles and autonomous underwater vehicles.
Exactly. They could stay down longer, go deeper in many cases, without risking human lives directly. So for a long time, the focus shifted towards robotics for efficiency and safety. It seemed like the more practical path.
But we lost something.
We lost the nuance, the real-time adaptability of having a trained human scientist right there immersed in the environment. ROVs are amazing tools, but they're still remote-controlled. You're looking through a camera operating manipulators.
Not the same as being there.
Not the same as noticing subtle changes, following an unexpected lead, or just observing complex interactions over days. Vanguard signals a return to valuing that sustained human presence. It's a recognition that for certain kinds of science, understanding delicate ecosystems, long-term processes, complex behaviors, you need eyes and brains on site continuously.
Eliminating that constant up and down cycle.
Right. Instead of a 4-hour visit to a reef, imagine a scientist living next to it for a week, observing coral spawning, tracking predator movements through the night, noticing the first signs of disease. Things you'd almost certainly miss with brief flybys.
It's like the difference between reading a report about a place and actually living there for a while.
Exactly. Deeper understanding, richer context.
Okay, but living underwater, high pressure. It's inherently risky. You need absolute confidence in the structure. You mentioned certification earlier. This project got a specific classification.
Yes, and this is hugely important. Vanguard is the first underwater habitat to be classified by DNV Detnorsky Veritas.
DNV. They're big in maritime and energy, right? Certifying ships, oil rigs, based in Norway.
That's them. They are the global standard setter for safety and engineering integrity in harsh marine environments, especially involving pressure vessels and life support. Getting their stamp of approval is not trivial.
So it's not just deep saying, trust us, it's safe. It's a rigorous, independent validation.
Absolutely rigorous. DNV classification involves years of reviewing designs, testing materials, scrutinizing manufacturing processes, validating safety systems, everything. They look at hull integrity under pressure cycles, fire safety in oxygen-rich environments.
Which must be terrifying underwater.
Extremely complex. They look at emergency procedures, backup systems, redundancy for life support, everything needed to ensure the habitat is fundamentally safe for human occupancy under the specified conditions.
So that DNV classification is like the ultimate safety guarantee.
It's the gold standard. It provides confidence not just for the crew, but for research partners, for insurers, for funders. It says this isn't just an experiment. It's engineered to internationally recognize safety standards for this extreme environment.
And that certification directly enables their stated goal, getting beyond snapshots to comprehensive research.
Precisely. The company stated that allowing teams to remain submerged enables more comprehensive research and real-time observation. The DNV classification provides the validated, safe platform to actually do that. Think about ocean acidification monitoring. A quick dive gives you 1 pH reading. Staying down for a week lets you track the subtle shifts continuously, correlate them with tides, light levels. You build a much richer, more reliable data set for climate models.
And the CEO, Norman Smith, who's also the lead engineer, he had a quote about this opening up new science.
He did. He emphasized accessibility. His point was that there are huge areas, especially on continental shelves, well within reach of saturation diving depths like Vanguard's target ranges, that are barely explored because we lacked the ability to stay there. He said, making these zones accessible will open up a whole new realm of science. It's about sustained presence in these critical, yet largely unknown nearshore and shelf ecosystems.
Okay, stepping back again, why should someone listening right now who isn't a marine biologist or an engineer care about a habitat 65 feet down? What's the so what for us?
The so what is that the ocean drives our planet. Climate regulation, oxygen production, food resources, it's all interconnected.
We depend on it.
Totally. So any tool that lets us understand ocean health better, especially sensitive systems like coral reefs reacting to warming waters, or how carbon is cycling in the water column, gives us better information to make crucial decisions.
Better conservation, better climate predictions.
Exactly. better resource management. Vanguard isn't just cool tech. It's a vital instrument for understanding our planet's operating system, especially now when that system is under so much stress. The insights gained down there can inform global policy.
Okay, so the current 65-foot prototype is validated, it's working, it's proving the concept. But you said that's just the start. Deep has bigger, or rather, deeper ambition.
Much deeper. 65 feet is phase 1, the testbed. The sources are clear. They are actively designing the next generation.
And the target depth for that?
Up to 650 feet, 200 meters.
Wow. Okay, 65 feet was 3 atmospheres. What's 650 feet in terms of pressure?
Now you're talking about roughly 20 atmospheres, 20 times the pressure at the surface.
20 times? That's hard to even imagine.
Think about the weight of an SUV pressing down on every single square inch of that habitat's hull. Continuously.
Okay. The engineering challenge just went up by a lot more than 10 times, I assume.
Exponentially harder. Material science becomes critical. Welding integrity under that constant immense pressure is paramount. Life support gets even more complex. You're dealing with very high percentages of helium in the breathing mix to manage narcosis and gas density. Oxygen levels have to be controlled with extreme precision to avoid toxicity. It's a whole different level of operational complexity and risk.
Pushing the boundaries of saturation diving itself.
Absolutely. But if they can achieve that 650-foot operational depth, the potential applications Deep envisions are pretty revolutionary. They highlighted 3 main areas.
Okay, what are they?
First, back to marine conservation. At 650 feet, you're getting into the mesophotic zone, the twilight zone. These are deeper reef systems, often poorly understood, but potentially vital refuges for species stressed in shallower waters.
So, studying those deeper reefs directly.
Yes. Long-term observation. Imagine monitoring deep water coral health, understanding how those ecosystems function, maybe even attempting restoration efforts there. Having scientists living right next door makes that feasible in a way it never was before. Continuous monitoring, not just fleeting glimpses.
Like an ICU for deep reefs. Makes sense. That's the second area.
Second is climate science. A network of habitats at these kinds of depths could act as permanent deep water monitoring stations.
Going beyond surface buoys.
Way beyond. Measuring deep ocean currents, tracking long-term temperature changes in those deep layers, monitoring water chemistry like dissolved oxygen and CO2 uptake in situ, with human oversight for calibration and maintenance of sensitive instruments. This provides continuous, high-fidelity data from within the water column, feeding much more accurate information into global climate models. It's about getting ground truth from the deep ocean itself.
Okay, conservation, climate, and the third one was surprising, right? Something about space.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. Space analogs. Using the deep-sea habitat as a training ground for astronauts.
Underwater training for space. How does that work?
Well, think about the conditions inside the habitat, especially for a long mission at depth. You're isolated in a confined space.
Check.
You're cut off from the normal world, limited communication, potentially with delays.
Like Marscom's lag. Check.
You are completely reliant on your life support systems, air, water recycling. Your life depends on the technology working.
Like the ISS or a lunar base. Check.
And you're working as a small team under pressure, needing tight coordination and problem-solving skills when things inevitably go wrong.
Okay, I see it now. The deep sea mimics the isolation, confinement, and technological dependence of spaceflight remarkably well.
Exactly. NASA has used underwater habitats like Aquarius for their NEMO missions for years for this very reason. Vanguard, especially if scaled for longer durations or deeper depths, offers an even higher fidelity analog environment.
So you test procedures, equipment, and maybe most importantly, crew psychology and teamwork under extreme conditions here on Earth before you send people millions of miles away.
That's the idea. Test how teams handle stress, manage resources, fix unexpected problems when the stakes are incredibly high. Whether the danger is crushing pressure or the vacuum of space, the human factors and engineering challenges have a lot in common.
That iterative approach seems key. Learn at 65 feet, apply it to 650 feet, use that knowledge perhaps for space. But Deep isn't planning on just 1 or 2 habitats, are they? The vision is bigger.
Much bigger. The ultimate goal described is not just isolated projects, but building a network of these underwater stations.
A network, like permanent undersea research outposts?
Potentially, yeah. Making continuous long-term ocean research infrastructure. Moving beyond expeditions to establishing a persistent presence. Think weather stations, but underwater. globally.
That's ambitious, a fundamental shift.
It really is. It requires standardizing the technology, streamlining logistics, making deployment more routine.
And each mission informs the next.
Right? That's what they say. Each mission will build upon the last, refining technology and operations until living beneath the sea becomes routine. It's about learning, adapting, scaling.
And for us, the listeners, understanding this isn't just about one cool piece of tech. It's watching the beginning of potentially a whole new way humanity interacts with the majority of our own planet.
Exactly. We're moving from being surface tourists to potentially becoming shelf residents, at least temporarily. The knowledge gained about engineering under pressure, about life support, about human endurance and isolation, that knowledge has implications far beyond oceanography.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive, truly. We've gone from the basic problem knowing less about our oceans than Mars to the specific engineering of Vanguard. Let's quickly recap the key takeaways for everyone. We talked about Vanguard shifting us from brief visits to sustained underwater presence, thanks to saturation diving principles. We covered that clever modular design, the living chamber, diving center, and base, and the absolute necessity of surface support. We highlighted the crucial DNV classification, that gold standard safety verification. And we looked at the future, that jump to 650 feet, and the really diverse applications, saving reefs, understanding climate change, and even training astronauts for space missions. So what does this all mean? It means our relationship with the real blue planet, the 70% that's water, the 95% we barely know, well, it might be about to change in a really fundamental way. Humanity's finally committing to staying down there.
It feels like a threshold moment.
It does. The tech is here, or getting here. Now it's about the will, the scale.
And that leaves us with a final thought, something for you to really chew on after this conversation. If this single habitat design, Vanguard, is already pulling double duty, helping restore coral reefs at 65 feet, while also serving as a testbed for astronaut training, think about the universal lessons being learned down there. How might managing logistics, crew psychology, closed-loop life support, and modular building in the relatively easy environment of 65 feet directly inform the much harder challenges of building truly permanent bases at 650 feet, or even habitats on the Moon or Mars? The fundamental problems keeping people alive and functional inside a sealed box surrounded by a hostile environment, whether it's high pressure or vacuum share core engineering principles. Power, life support, structural integrity, human factors.
As if all connected.
It really is. So maybe the next giant leap for humankind, whether it's deeper into the ocean or further into space, actually starts right here, with an anchor dropped just 65 feet below the waves, using the ocean as our first best classroom for extreme environments.